Welcome everyone to our presentation for the subject Advanced Projects at the Quality and Usability Lab. Our task over the past few months has been the creation of a grant portal for the International Speech Communication Association. Together with Injun and Caroline, we will talk about the process of creating the portal, the problems we encountered, and the things we couldn't implement despite our best efforts. Since we had to create two portals that differ from each other in several ways, we will talk first about the features present in both portals, and then we will show which new features were added in the second portal. At the beginning, I would like to remind everyone what the current portal looks like, to better explain the differences in the functionality and appearance of our project. This is what the page currently looks like, where the applicant has to fill out a form to apply for a grant. Table with all applications. And a summary of a specific application with all the data that the applicant must enter in the form, including options to change the status of the application. Before starting work on the project, there were a few tasks to complete that significantly helped in the later stages of creating new websites. Besides creating the project in Bodybase and inviting Caroline and Injun, our group also set up a Discord server where both teams could meet and share helpful resources. One of the first tasks our group undertook was gathering ideas on how we wanted our portal to function and look. At the same time, we tested the current page with the form to find any bugs and areas for improvement. After gaining admin access to the portal, we avoided testing too many things, such as adding new applications and then accepting or deleting them to prevent any accidental damage. We also joined the official Bodybase server on Discord to stay updated on the latest developments and to ask questions to people who have been working with Bodybase for a long time. After testing the current form page, we found several things that definitely need improvement. We noticed that the input fields in the form are probably marked as required in their HTML code, and the only validation method used is the input type, which is outdated and, for example, no longer works properly for emails. Therefore, we decided to write regular expressions for data such as name, email, and phone number to significantly improve the validation process, helping to avoid invalid or incorrect applications in the future. At the top, you can see a screenshot from Bodybase showing how we set the regex, and below are the complete regex for the name and surname. Since the input field for the name was probably of type text, any string could be entered without receiving any error message. With the way we've implemented it, this is now impossible, and the input fields require real names. On the left, you can see examples of valid surnames. It is important to note that these screenshots were taken after attempting to submit an incomplete form by clicking the Submit button. This confirms that the input fields have the required attribute in their HTML code, but are not validated in any way. After entering an incorrect name and surname without filling the age field, the page prompts us to fill in the age, but does not detect the error in the name. We also wrote a regex for the email field. Even if this input field is of type email, the basic HTML validation in the browser, as I mentioned before, is outdated and does not work properly for emails. And the same story with the phone number validation. On the left, you can see examples of valid telephone numbers that match our regular expression. Additionally, we found a few items in the country drop-down menu that needed correction. After examining the current list of countries available for selection, we determined that it dates back to 1997 and requires updating. We decided to remove, add, and update several selection options.
This is how the design of our project looks. We decided on a modern and simple layout with a light theme and the company colors as accents. This is what the table with all the travel grant application looks like. It also serves as the home page for the admin. And here's the design of a single submission from the view of an admin. As you can see in the top right corner, the admin can edit submitted applications just as you requested. Professor Mahadeva Prasanna requested additional application statuses, such as completed and paid, for the portal with user profiles. We decided to add these statuses to the portal without user profiles as well, to easily distinguish between submissions that are just approved and the ones that already sent their reports and their copies of receipts. On the portal with user profiles, there are also 3 additional statuses: unfinished, to improve, and report incomplete. But we will talk about that later. In case of a rejection, we found it would be helpful for the applicant to know why their submission was declined. So before the admin rejects any application, they must provide a reason. This reason will be displayed on the submission page and also will be sent to the applicant via email. Currently, the website is not mobile ready. It doesn't look good and you don't have an overview over the website. This is very impractical in case you want to visit it from your phone. We changed that, so now the website looks good on every device because it adapts to the screen. This is the list of plugins we used to create our portals. The 2 crossed out ones were not used. Injun will talk about them later. They mainly helped us to improve the appearance of our pages. As requested by Antoine, we added a new feature for writing comments on a specific application. They are only visible to admins, and this plugin was created by Mr. Andrew Kingston. We also noticed a small problem in the footer of the current page. Specifically, the buttons linking to Iska's social media are not labeled, and since there are 2 buttons for Facebook and Twitter, we thought it would be helpful to add a short description. So, to help with this problem, we got a plugin for tooltips created by Andrew Thompson. The next plugin by Matt Strachan helped us with a strictly cosmetic issue. The default body-based buttons have a predefined design that didn't quite fit our concept. So with the help of Button Plus, we are able to define the appearance ourselves and also change the color when we hover over the buttons. As you could see on the previous slide in the screenshot with the 2 buttons, we implemented the ability to download data from the page with the applications. However, we encountered some issues that we couldn't resolve due to the limited functionalities of Bodybase. For example, it is impossible to download all applications from the web page. You can only download the ones that are currently displayed on the page. A solution we can recommend for the future is to set the row count to a high number, so there are more applications displayed on one site. This will make the page very long, but it will allow the download of a larger number of submissions. Another problem we encountered is that the data can only be downloaded in 2 formats, JSON and CSV. We couldn't find any plugin that allows data to be downloaded in any other formats, such as XLS for Excel. Here you can see what the data downloaded in JSON format looks like in VS Code. We decided to add this option even though it hadn't been implemented before, to compensate for the lack of an option to download data in an Excel format. Another problem is the inability to set custom settings when downloading data as a CSV. Although we managed to choose our own column order from the data bank, this is the only customization we are able to achieve. As you can see in the image, there is some automation in the official Bodybase Git repository, but it is still in development stage and does not fully meet its intended purpose. We decided to not use it, but we highly recommend keeping an eye on it, so that in the future it may be possible to customize the appearance of the downloaded data according to your needs. So this is how the downloaded data in CSV format looks like in software that supports this format. We are unable to add colors to it as it is now, but we made the status the first column so that it is clearly visible. And this is how the CSV format looks like in Excel, which doesn't support this format. Even though we selected the tabulator as the separator between columns, it doesn't work.
We found the current filtering options for applications very limited, so we decided to enhance them a bit. Now, one can filter applications by selecting any possible input field from the form, like for example the country. Also, one can filter by quickly selecting the status of the application. It is possible to choose more than one status, as requested by Antoine. Additionally, one can filter the applications by the last name and, as before, by the event.
We wanted to add a CAPTCHA feature to verify if the user is a robot or not. However, since this is not a built-in feature in Bodybase, we had to either find or create a plugin ourselves. Bodybase offers two main ways to import plugins: by searching existing resources or by creating our own plugins using Node.js and npm. We explored both options, checking if any existing CAPTCHA plugins were implemented by other users through Discord channels and Google, and attempting to create one ourselves using npm, as we are familiar with Node.js. We found a reCAPTCHA feature plugin for Bodybase shared by a user called Keith Ellis Select on GitHub. However, even after linking this GitHub repository to Bodybase and downloading and uploading the files, it did not work. Upon analyzing it, we found that while there were no issues with the execution of the code, it did not provide the desired functionality as a Bodybase component. We believe that although the user select made it publicly available, the functionality of this reCAPTCHA feature had not been verified by other users. The second approach involved creating a Bodybase component using the npm library called CAPTCHA Generator. When initializing the Bodybase plugin, npm automatically created the necessary directories. We then added the appropriate code for the desired npm library in the index.js file. The code ran without errors in the IDE, but it did not function properly when imported into Bodybase. Even though we could not add CAPTCHA to our project, we found a helpful article on how to do it in WhatApricot. This is a very easy method that doesn't require installing any plugins. Bodybase offers a variety of automation features. When appropriate triggers such as button actions or the addition, deletion, or modification of data cells occur, the program or application automatically executes the commands we set through automation. Here, we implemented an SMTP function that automatically sends an email when the user performs a suitable button action or enters a comment. The Bodybase automation retrieves the username, email address, and even event name data from the page form and automatically generates the appropriate email according to the user's data parameters. And here are examples of emails sent to applicant and the admin after the application status has been changed. For making the event list on the Bodybase page, where the data source of the events comes from WhatApricot, we use the make.com tool, which offers an automated workflow that we want. Make.com is a tool that automatically executes workflows and allows for easy visual implementation. In this project, Make.com is positioned between WhatApricot and Bodybase. It uses the API key to fetch data from WhatApricot, converts it into the desired data type, filters only the necessary data, and then pass it to Bodybase. First, the most important task in Make.com is to connect it with Bodybase and WhatApricot. We connected with Bodybase by obtaining a URL through webhooks and passing it to the Make.com automation function in Bodybase. This setup triggers Make.com to automatically execute the workflow whenever the appropriate trigger occurs in Bodybase. For wild API codes, we connected using API keys, which allowed us to fetch data from wild API code at the appropriate stage in the workflow. The second task is to exit the appropriate URL in wild API code and send an HTTP GET request to receive the detailed data of an event as the output response. However, this API call only occurs once. Since we need information on all events, we used the iterator module in make.com to iterate the API call performed above. As a result, as shown in the visual representation, we can receive the details of all events, each bundled separately. Third, since the data received through the iterator is not exactly what we want, we filtered out only the necessary items. Additionally, since all the retrieved data is in text form, we converted it to dates and booleans. We chose MySQL as the database to manage this data. We also tried Google Sheets and MongoDB, but Google Sheets could not manage the date data, and we wasn't familiar with MongoDB. So we chose MySQL because we are most proficient with it and has experience using it on our previous working student position. Additionally, since the project could be worked with MySQL as a localhost, we created a remote server through Google Cloud and connected it. Although it's currently possible to use the free version, there is the issue of having to pay once a certain usage threshold is exceeded. However, due to the ease of connection and fast data management, we decided to proceed with this option. The table should be updated automatically, but since we do not have the access to WADAPI code and also couldn't test with second group, we decided to implement additionally refresh button, which makes sure every workflow properly.
Finally, we would like to show the new features added for the second portal with user profiles. This is what the homepage looks like from the applicant's perspective. They can also filter their applications by event and status. To prevent the applicant from having to enter the same data each time, which is essentially the point of having a profile, we created a page where user can save their personal data for future submissions. This is how a new travel grant application page looks when added by a user with an account. The user's personal data is set as the default value and is pre-filled. However, these can be changed without editing the data from the page from the previous slide in case of submitting an application on behalf of someone else. The applicant can save their application for later and edit it at any time before submitting it. In this case, their submission will have the status unfinished and will be hidden from the admins. The admin also has the option to send a submission back for improvement if the submission is close to being approved, but certain aspects needs to be corrected. They can also send the report back for revision if something is not readable or in case of any other issue. In the case of an application being approved by the admin, the applicant will be shown a new input field where they can add more than one document for the report and their receipts. No new documents can be added once the application status is changed to completed or paid. To summarize the differences in functionality and size between the two portals, the portal without profiles consists of 8 pages, 6 for the administrator and 2 for the applicant. Blue indicates free access to these pages without the need for an account. The portal with profiles consists of 8 pages for the admin and 6 pages for the applicant, making a total of 14 different surfaces. Green indicates access to the page only for logged in users. Thank you for your attention.